Let's jump into page 2 of 3. Did I say 3? Page 2 of 3. Test number 2, part 2 of the digital SAT math section. These questions are pretty good because it shows you how they start to get a little slick as you increase in questions. So we're in the middle third of the practice test. Yes, it's on paper. You guys are taking digital tests. It's great to do this on paper so you get very familiar. And then about a week before the test, take a digital practice test. You get familiar with using Desmos and maneuvering your way through the test questions. I would do that up 7 up to 10 days before the test. You get familiar with the whole blue book method of using the test. I don't want you to get stuck trying to figure out the keys and the timing and all that good stuff. So anyhow, let's bust out these math questions. Here we have a slope-intercept formula. I want to know what these guys want to measure. We have a y-intercept is 12.1. Our slope is a negative slope line of 0.05 over 1. All right, cool. Let's go into the question. The given function g models the number of gallons of gasoline that remains from a full tank of gas. That's why we have a negative slope. So they want to know the total number of gallons, which means that the negative 0.05 is gallons, which means also that the 12.1 is gallons. Now, what's the x? The x has to be our variable, and that's after driving m miles. So the m represents the miles. That's it. So if they said, oh, g of m is the number of, I don't know, bologna sandwiches, then the number negative 0.05 is bologna sandwiches, 12.1 is the bologna sandwiches, and m would be the variable. Let's say mixtures, or let's say maps, whatever it is. But the total of what they're asking for, the numbers will be related to the total. All right, let's go into this. About how many gallons of gasoline are used to drive each mile? Well, we do have each mile, and we know the negative 0.05 represents gallons. So for every mile we drive, we're going down 0.05 gallons. So I think this is pretty easy. This is pretty amazing for a question number 9 to be a medium level question. I believe that most students think they have to solve something, and you don't. You're just interpreting what they're giving you in a formula to basic English math. So here we go. How many gallons of gasoline are used? Is 0.05 gallons of gasoline are used for every mile. And then, why is it negative? Because then it would have to be subtracted from your 12.1 gallons. And that's it. Basic understanding of the entire concept of the formula of the math of linear equations. Question number 10. They give us this fraction. Okay, so I believe they're going to test our mechanics. We got the b, we got the y, we get the x. They may ask us solve for b. They may ask us solve for y, solve for x. We go into this question anticipating one of those, because look at the answer choices. What are they asking us to do? They're pretty much asking us to solve for x. Let's verify though. Given the equation relates to the positive numbers b, x, and y, which equation correctly expresses x in terms of? Whenever you see in terms of, that means solve for. It's code for solve for. Solve for what? What came immediately before it? The x. So we're going to solve for x, and the answer choices pretty much show you. But what if this is a deeper question? To make it harder, they would hide that each answer is showing you x, and then they just give you answer choices. That kind of confuses students. But once you see that each one of those are showing you solve for x, you own this question. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to rewrite the 1 over 7b is equal to 11x over y. So I want to solve for x, which means I'm going to have to get rid of that y. To get rid of that y, my first step is to multiply y over 1 by both sides, and I'm going to multiply that side by y also. So anything you do to one side of the equation, you got to do to the other side. So my y's canceled. That will leave me with 11x is equal to 1 times y is just y over 7b. Got it? Now, I'm going to solve for x. What do I do with the 11? I'm going to divide 11 by both sides, which means I'm going to have to I'm going to divide the other side by 11 also. You see what happens? These guys will cancel out. So now what I have left over, x is equal to, what is 1 times y? It's just y. And what is 11 times 7b? 77b. If I take a look at my answer choices, C is my best answer. So basically, you just solving for x. Why? Because they say in terms of, which means what? Means solve for. Question number 11. Y equals 76, and then also y equals x squared minus 5. But if that's the case, doesn't that mean if y equals 76, doesn't that mean that 76 is equal to x squared minus 5? Here, I'll write it. X squared minus 5 is equal to 76. Okay, let's go into the question. What is a possible value of x? Okay, so let's solve for x. How do we solve for x? Let's get the equation to equal 0, which means that we're going to have to subtract 76 from both sides, right? Okay, so we have x squared with a negative 5 minus 76. What is that going to equal? That will equal a negative 81. And since these guys cancel out, that'll be equal to 0. Do you notice what I see? Difference of squares. Get familiar. This is a difference of squares. So notice it's going to be x plus and x minus. X plus x minus what? It's going to be x plus 9 times x minus 9. Ta-da! We're set. Now do each one to equal 0. X plus 9 equals 0, so x equals a negative 9. And the other side, x minus 9 equals 0, so x could equal a positive 9. Again, the question, what is a possible value of x? It's either going to be a negative 9 or a positive 9. Take a look at your answer choices. They do not show us a positive 9, but B is our answer. Now, with these questions, be careful. If you see this, sometimes the question is going to say, what is a positive value? You see how the word possible and the word positive sort of kind of look the same? So if you're rushing, you might read it as positive instead of possible. And then you're like, oh, man, I'm looking for that positive 9. I don't have an answer. Please reread the question. Verify the answer in the question. Asking for possible, so it can be either 9 or negative 9. Question number 12. So we have y is greater than 14. All right, cool. Then 4x plus y is less than 18. Now, before I look at the question or read the words, well, if y is greater than 14, what could be a possible value of y that I could plug right in there? I can't use 14. It's got to be greater than 14. So, word to the y's, your y could be, if it's greater than 14, it could be equal to, check this out, 14.1. A lot of students will think, oh no, I'm going to use a whole number. I'm going to use 15. That is true. But when you get deeper into questions, go up with a decimal, just 0.1, which is greater than 14. Okay, so that's one thing I want to point out. All right, let me back that up, and let's go into the question and see what they truly want from us. Okay, the point x in 53. So they're not telling us what the value of x is, but it's just x. But they are telling us the value of y is 53. The original fact, they said y is greater than 14. So does that mean that y could equal 53? Yeah, it's greater than 14. Okay, what if I took that 53 and I plugged it right in here? Got it? So now I have 4x plus 53 is now less than 18. So I just rewrote the equation, but instead of putting just y, I put 53 because they're telling us in the question that y equals 53. Now I set it up. I plugged in my 53. Now they're asking which of the following could be the value of x. All right, let's solve. We're going to subtract 53 from both sides. Now we have 4x is less than, what is a positive 18 with the 53? That's going to be, I believe it's, it's going to be a negative number. So 13, that'll be 5, 4 minus, wait, am I doing, yeah, 4 minus 1 is going to be 3. So 4x equals a negative 35. Now, how do we solve for x? We're going to divide 4 by both sides. So now x is less than, how many times does 4 go into a negative 35? It's going to go into it negative 8, right? Because 32, so it's going to be like 32, 4 times 32, 32, 3. Then you have 3 left over. It's going to be something less than 8. So x is less than negative 8. Look at your answer choices. Negative 8 point something or another, right? If you use your calculator, you get your answer. So it's negative 8 point something. It's a little less than 9, but what's less than negative 8? Negative 9. So that is your answer. Just a little slick. You see the little slickerations with this? Yeah, there's 2 parts of slick. The parts of slick is this right here, right? And they're telling you that you're using y equals 53. The second part is when you solve, you're going to get a decimal. Now, what is less? Remember your number lines, right? If you do have a number line, you have a negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, and what comes after that? Your negative 9. So what's going to be less than a negative 8? It's got to be the next number down here, negative 9. It can't be negative 5 because that would be greater, climbing back up the ladder, so that would be greater. So B cannot work and none of these guys can. Question number 13. Oh, I wrote in the answer already. Let's take a look. How do we get our 240? So I did this in class. I showed students, this is the answer. How do we get it? So you might get a little more familiar this way. So out of 300 seeds that were planted, 80% sprouted. So I got a total of 300 seeds, but only 80%, which is 0.8, sprouted. So what is 0.8 times 300? That's going to be, right? I could do it long here. I got 0, 0, I got 24. I got a decimal that moves over once, so I moved that over once, so my answer must be 240. If you use your calculator, you're good to go. But Mr. Alberto, what about that question? We did 100% plus 80%. No, that's if it increased 80% over last year, then it would be 100 plus 80%. But in this case, it just said 80% of or times the 300 sprouted. Question number 14. Oh, take a look at this. Could it be that easy? Let's verify. Let's do it in green. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to 4x. All right, so remember f of x always equals y, so that would be equal to 4x. Remember, f of x is always equal to y. Here they're saying, for what value of x, which I don't know, they want to know what is x going to be for the entire equation, f of x, to equal 8. So that means y equals f of x. What is that value of x going to be when it's going to equal 4x, but the entire equation will equal, it's going to equal 8. Got it? So we solved this part. So 4x equals 8, so 4x equals 8, so x equals 8 divided by 4. Remember, we divide 4 by both sides. So what does that equal? That is going to equal 2, and that's the answer to your question. Now, what's the big deal with this? Isn't it supposed to be hard or difficult? No, it's pretty easy. But what if I took everything away? And let's look at it from scratch. Will we be able to recognize, whoop, the function is defined by f of x equals 4 times x. So we notice we got our x's. They're trying to confuse you. But then they tell you, here's the hook. The value of x, what value of x does f of x, the entire equation, is going to equal 8. So you're saying that all of this must equal 8, and that is where you go right there. Now, some students, they mistakenly think that that 8 goes inside here, so then you're plugging in 8, 4 times 8. No, 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 that's not what it is. It's saying the entire solution equals 8. So all of f of x is equal to 8. So all of 4 times x will equal 8. Then you just solve for x, which is 2, and you're in and out of the question. Question number 15, which expression is equivalent to, wee, this looks ugly. We take a look at the answer choices. They look ugly too. And then they give you where x is greater than 7. Very interesting. Why are they going to tell us x is greater than 7? It's to qualify this question to work out well. Because let's say we said x is equal to 7. So that'd be 7 minus 7. That'd be 7 minus 7, which is 0. So we have 0 times 8x, which would be 0, minus 3 times 0, which would be 0. So 0 minus 0 is 0. So 0 over 2x minus 14 is going to be 0. And look, at none of these answers have 0. So in order to qualify this question to work, they had to tell us that x is greater than 7. All right, at that point, that's all you need to know. And nothing more. Now let's solve this. So basically, they're giving you that information, but you can clearly ignore it. Now I'm going to rewrite the equation: 8x times x minus 7. Now we have minus 3x, 3 times x minus 7, all over 2x. All right, check this out. 2x minus 14, right? All over. But what, isn't this the same thing? If I broke up the fraction, then it'd be 8x times x minus 7 over 2x minus 14. But I can also write this 2x minus 14 underneath that one. It's the same thing, as all of this is the same as what I just done right there. We cool? Now, that 2x minus 14, what if I factored it? And it became 2 times what? How many times does 2 go into 2x? X times. How many times does it go into negative 14? Negative 7. Parenthesis. Did you see what we just did? We factored the denominator. The same thing would happen to the other side. That would be 2 times x minus 7. So there we go. Now everything is apples to apples. Oh, if I see x minus 7 upstairs and x minus 7 downstairs, couldn't I just cross that out? Doesn't it cancel? Doesn't this cancel also? Yep, it cancels as well. So what do you have left over? You know what? I'm going to erase with the cancellations. Let's do a big fat erase. Cancel and cancel. So what do we have left over? I think you guys got this. So what's left over? We have 8x over 2 minus 3 over 2. Or it's the same as saying 8x minus 3 over 2, which is your answer. So they're just testing your mechanics. They're trying to get you scared. But the hook to this is to factor that sucker out. And once you got that factored out, remember you got two parts of the equation. And you get this, and this is your final answer. Ding dong. Now sometimes they show the answer this way. So be careful. Remember, that is not multiplying. That's minus. But it's right there anyhow. All right, let's go to the next question, number 16. Line P is defined by this formula, right? But they said it's a line. Is this in slope-intercept form? That's the first thing I'm going to do. Set that to slope-intercept form. So 2y plus 18x is equal to 9. Now I'm going to solve for y. 2y, subtract 18x from both sides, plus 9. And then I'm going to take my 2 and divide all the way across. That's going to be a negative 18 over 2x plus 9 over 2. Now I can reduce that negative 18 over 2. So y is equal to a negative 9x plus 9 over 2. Bang! So now they're telling us there's another line. We just solved line P. Line R is perpendicular to line P. What is the slope of line R? When you're going to do perpendicular, remember first we have to take the first formula, which is this guy, and solve for y, which we got right there. Now, line R, which is perpendicular, right? It's going to be y equals, what do? We take the slope. Whenever you're going to figure out the line is perpendicular to the previous line, we're going to take the slope and we're going to what? Flip it, dun, 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 and reverse it. And that's it. So what's your slope got to be? 1 over 9x. Which one shows you a positive 1 over 9? Ding dong, that witch is dead. Question number 17. All right, we see this formula. You guys got to be ready, steady to recognize we're dealing with exponential increase. Now, what kind of an exponential increase are we dealing with? I'm going to write the 8,000 in blue, right? 8,000. Is really what you're seeing. Now I'm going to draw these parentheses. See, when you see this business inside here, you got to be ready to recognize that that is 100% minus 35% to the t power, right? So if I took the 8,000, repeated it, and then within the parentheses, what is 100% minus 35% equal to? That would be equal to 65% to the t power. And of course, what will you wind up with? You're going to wind up with a 0.65, because 65% is 0.65. We still maintain our 8,000 and we still have to our t power. So again, this business right here, that 0.65 is really 100% minus 35%. So this thing is going down 35% every year over last year. That's one extra thing that I explained to you so you're familiar when you get the harder questions. But let's take a look at the rest of the business that we're seeing here. We notice that the answer choices are wordy. So basically, they're going to ask us if we understand what we're seeing as a formula. All right, let's go into the question. The given function f models the number of coupons a company sent to their customers at the end of each year. All right, at the end of each year. So we have our starting number is 8,000. So at the end of something year, we started at 8,000 coupons. Then they said T represents the number of years since the end of 1988. So we can safely say at the end of 1988, we had 8,000 coupons on hand. But then in the upcoming new year, we're going to have extra coupons. Yeah, extra coupons, but it is 100% minus what? Minus 35%, which is actually 65% of last year. Oh, so it's changing. All right. Now, the function where t represents the number of years since 1998 is graphed in the xy plane. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the y-intercept? So there's the hook to the question. the y-intercept. Remember, when you deal with the y-intercept, that is when x equals what? 0. In this case, if x equals 0, instead of using x, what are they using? They're using t. So that's when t equals 0. If I stuck a 0 at t, what is anything to the 0 power equal to? Anything to the 0 power is going to be equal to 1. So what goes within the parenthesis, 0.65 to 0 power is equal to 1. So now what is 8,000 times 1 going to equal? It's just going to equal 8,000. You guys got that? So when x equals 0 at the y-intercept, what does that mean? You're going to have 8,000 left over. So t represents the number of years. So x equals 0 or t equals 0, that is year 0. That means at the very beginning, the start, in which they said that would be at the end of the year. Let's go with their answers from the bottom up. Could the y-intercept be the estimated number of coupons the company sent to their customers at the end of 1998 was actually 8,000? Yeah, when we plugged in x equals 0 up here, this is going to equal 1, which is right here. 1 times 8,000 is 8,000. So at the end, that would be at the very beginning. Yep, D would look like it'd be the answer. But why would C be wrong? C says that your y-intercept is the estimated number of coupons the company sent to their customers at the end of 1998. Yep, so far so good. But was 1428? No. It's 8,000, not 1428, so this answer is wrong. What about B? The minimum estimated number of coupons the company sent to the customers during the entire 5 years? No, that would be when t equals 5. They gave us t equals 0, not 5, so therefore B is out. What about A? The minimum estimated number of coupons the company sent to their customers during the 5 years was 1428. That would mean t equals 5, but we are using t equals 0. So therefore, that cannot work. So A is out. D is the best answer. Did you notice what I did? I believe I had the right answer, but I verified the others because remember, they're asking for the best answers. So that's pretty much it for page 2 of test number 2, part 2 of your practice test. Until the next segment, you can contact me if you have any questions or if any of these were a little confusing. Just contact me. I'll help you out. Peace out.